At this point, they just need to take Jason off Inmate to Roommate and put him on the Netflix show The Worst Roommates, because that's pretty much where he's at this point. He's not done one single thing to help Emily out since living with her. He just blew all his money when he went to the horse track. He's been having all these women in her house while she's at work, and she can't feel happy or peaceful when she's away from her house because she's constantly wondering what's gonna happen. And then she realized that she left her purse upstairs when she went downstairs, and she just put $100 into her purse. Then when she comes upstairs, it's completely gone. Nobody's been in the house all day except Emily and Jason. And now suddenly the money's missing. And Emily looked everywhere. She was digging in the trash. You know, I think we all have been there before when you accidentally throw away something valuable or some money and you gotta dig through the dirty trash. It's just the worst. And she has looked everywhere. And her last option is maybe Jason took it. And she said she's not the one to blame people for stuff as she doesn't have concrete proof. But she has looked everywhere in her house, so all signs are pointing to Jason. And Jason literally just blew through all his money at the horse track, so it would make sense with his past especially that he would steal money from her, especially with the fact she wasn't having money going missing before Jason moved in. So she decided she needs to call her son. She has a son that's her middle son, and she said he's the most level-headed. So she's hoping that he can sit down and talk to Jason and get through to him, because obviously she's not having any luck. And her son, he was willing to come do it, and he came over, and he's really not feeling Jason. He hasn't met Jason or really knows Jason like that, but from what he's heard, he feels like Jason has just completely disrespected his mom over and over again. Then Emily jumped in and she said, yeah, and I do have $100 missing. And Jason's like, so you think I took your money? But he really wasn't denying it really, or acting like, what are you talking about? He just like seemed like he was trying to deflect as much as possible, and he looked really guilty. Emily's son kept trying to talk to Jason, and Jason's like, what do you know? You're like half my age. And he's like, yeah, I may be half your age, but at least I'm not a little prison punk. And he honestly probably has a lot more life experience than Jason, because Jason has spent most of his adulthood in prison off and on. And then Jason was like, look, dude, we could go outside. You could just come to my room and tell me what's up. And then Emily's son hopped up and got right in front of Jason's face, because Jason was trying to get tough, so he got tough back. And then they were like pretty much chest to chest, screaming in each other's face, and Emily had to get in between them and try to break it up. And Jason's like trying to show off his muscle, which really wasn't anything at all. And even Emily was like, those ain't nothing but some fruity pebbles, which had me laughing. She straight roasted him right there. And Jason said, look, I just got out of prison, so you cannot look like a punk in prison. So if someone steps to you, you gotta step to them back. So he said that's what he was doing. But at the same time, this is Emily's son, and you're living in her house. The least you can do is show some respect to him. Like, it's so crazy. Jason is the one doing everybody dirty, but then he blows up on other people when they call him out for the bad things that he does. And so after Emily's son and Jason had a little quarrel, I guess Jason went and talked to a producer. And shout out to this producer, because this producer was on Jason and was not letting it go. He asked Jason, so what's up with the $50? And Jason blew up. He threw his hands in the air and he said, I don't want to effing talk about this, Joe. Or I think that's what he said was Joe. And he said, come on, next subject, let's move on. And he said, why don't you want to talk about it? If you didn't steal the money, just deny it. And you can tell that Jason, he's not a very good liar. You can see it in his eyes, and he just refuses to address it because he knows you can read it all over his face when he's lying. So he just avoids the subject completely. But this producer kept pressing on, and Jason threw his hands in the air, and I thought he was about to throw a punch for a second. I was starting to get scared. And he told the producer, I told you I'm not going to effing talk about this. Let me know when you want to effing move on. And then he starts walking off, and he's like punching the air and literally started jumping towards the producer for a second. And I was like, man, this man just showed me a whole nother side to him. I am scared for him to continue living with Emily because I'm scared that he's gonna snap on Emily, and then we're gonna see him on the next freaking episode of Snapped or the first 48. The producer was not about to let Jason get away with not answering this question, so he continued, did you steal the money or not? And Jason said, this is the one thing that you're not going to get from me, which I just don't understand. If you did not steal it, just say it. And it's just so obvious. And Jason was like, well, let me know when you want to talk about it and we can move on. And the producer was like, okay, are we? And Jason starts walking back, and then he kind of throws his hands, it kept looking like he was about to throw a punch, but he kept hitting his hand with his other hand. I would be scared how he would be acting with the producer if there weren't actually cameras there, and that's why I'm so fearful for Emily now. The producer was like, are we? And when Jason started to sit down thinking that the producer meant that he was willing to move on, but then he turned around and asked, did you steal the money or not? Jason threw his hands together. I thought he was about to start throwing punches, but he ended up just hitting his fist into his other fist. And he said, look, dude, you're not going to freaking get that from me. Are we going to move on? And he was looking so scary. They zoomed in on his face, and he looked like he was so freaking doped up. It was so obvious. When I was on drugs, I could never notice when other people were on drugs. But now that I'm sober, it's so obvious. You can see that emptiness in their eyes. Especially when they're one of those people who do dope and are up for days. And that's exactly what Jason looked like. He had that evil, glossed look in his eyes, like he's been up for days. At this point, it looks like he's doped up and he don't got nothing to lose, and those are the most dangerous type of people. So Cindy better watch out. She needs to get some cameras or something put up in her house immediately. Well, I wouldn't even be worried about that. I would just be worried about going to the courthouse ASAP and getting a eviction notice on him. Or wait till he does go far enough to she can do something where she can get a restraining order on him. Because it's time for him to go. He has not done anything good for her since being there. He's not going to pay the bills. And when he does get money, he blows it at the freaking horse track or is blowing it on what appears to be drugs. In my opinion, just the way that he's looking and the way he was acting and that stuff already gets you hyped up enough. So it's understandable why he's having a hard time calming himself down. But Jason has done nothing but bring complete chaos and drama to Emily's life since he's gotten out of prison. And I'm sorry, Emily, I don't think you're ever going to get your rent money from Jason. I think he's going to end up costing you a lot more money than you're going to end up getting from him. Then we see in next week's episode, someone comes and knocks on Cindy's door, and next thing you know, Jason is scrapping and throwing punches with this person in Emily's front yard. I couldn't tell. It kind of looked like Emily's son, but I can't 100% confirm if it was or not. But All I know is it's time for Jason to go. He has to go right now. And Emily needs to start getting that figured out as soon as possible. You know, like shows like Married at First Sight, where they have people marry each other before seeing each other. Well, they set up a lot of things for these people. Like if it don't work out, they'll pay for your divorce and they'll cover the lawyer and all kinds of other things that come along with it. Like I think couples counseling is offered, or marriage counseling is offered. You know, and they have an option like if the marriage don't work, they have like 30 days or something to get annulled. Something like that. And I feel like they need to have something like that for these kind of contracts on inmate to roommate. Like, okay, yes, we can test it out for 30 days, but after 30 days, the person who is letting the inmate in their home has a choice that either they will let them keep staying there or they send them to like a halfway house or something like that, or like a transitional living facility. But either way, I hope they find a way to get Jason out. But that is it for this video, guys. Let me know what you guys think about everything in the comments below. Do you think Jason stole the $100? Give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, check out my lashes at AccordingtoAmber.com, and thank you so much for watching.